Taking over for another lesson today. Marty, thank you again for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. Today we are going to talk about the difference between vibrato, tremolo, and chorus. How they differ, where do you use them, how cool they sound if you stack them. Let's get into it. The coolest thing about all of these modulation effects is that they can really make your tone sound so crazy, and they can really add some cool parts to songs if you're wanting to get a little bit experimental. So let's get into the differences between vibrato, tremolo, and chorus, because they're actually very different. So if we start with tremolo, tremolo is a modulation of volume. Sometimes people confuse vibrato and tremolo a lot, but tremolo is just a modulation of something being louder and softer and louder and softer and louder and softer with actually no modulation of the pitch of a note. You can get tremolo pedals. My favorite is this diamond tremolo pedal. It's so great and it's got so many different settings. You can make it sound very, very distinct with the way the wave cuts, or you can make it sound very sort of curvy. So I'll show you the differences in tremolo sounds you can get out of the same pedal. And again, it's all just modulation of a volume in your signal. So it sounds pretty cool, right? And that's all just volume. And the great thing about some tremolo pedals is it lets you tap in your tempo. So if you want a slower sort of effect, you could. Or if you wanted something really fast. Now, this is my favorite setting, but let's try a few different wave signals so you can hear something a little bit more abrupt. That's a little bit more distinct, a little less warm, a little less fluid. And if we speed that one up, so it's very staccato. It's very almost like a pulsating effect. It almost gives like a shimmer on your whatever you're playing, and it doesn't change the pitch at all. Moving on, we'll go to vibrato next. Vibrato is the one that sometimes can be confused between tremolo and vibrato a lot. Vibrato is the sound effect where you're modulating pitch. It's kind of, if you were to use vibrato on a note, before I use this pedal, and go, it's kind of that effect in a pedal, so that it makes it sound even more modulated. It can even sound more weirder than tremolo that just kind of makes something shimmer. It really makes a note sort of warble, and it makes it like, it kind of gives it that underwater sound. I'm using the TC electronic modulation pedal. This pedal has so many different effects in one box, which sometimes I love because on a pedal board, you only have so much space sometimes, and having so many modulation effects in one pedal is really helpful because oftentimes you're not going to be stacking a whole bunch of things, and this pedal actually lets you stack 2 different mods on one sound. So this is what vibrato sounds like. So you can hear it's changing the pitch of a note. This also has a tap tempo, so let's slow this down so you can. So you can here, unlike tremolo where it just is changing the volume, it actually is changing the pitch, and it's like kind of making the tone go like this, or your pitch go like this. This is with it really fast. A really fast vibrato kind of gives it that warbly sound. Which sounds crazy most of the time, but in the right song it could be kind of cool. You have to make sure that your depth isn't turned up too much with vibrato, otherwise you can sound like you're playing out of key when you're not. So vibrato is something super, super fun to play with. It gives you that like extra little bit of weirdness to your tone when you want to experiment a bit. So the other fun fact about vibrato is you can have a vibrato pedal, you can play vibrato with your hands, or you can have a little whammy bar, a Floyd Rose, or sometimes these are called tremolo bars, but they're actually not tremolo at all. They're vibrato because it changes the pitch of your note. Let's see what this would sound like. So you can play. So they're so much fun. They take a lot of practice, and I very rarely play with the Floyd Rose, but they're so much fun to just try out and see what sounds you can get. It's definitely a different form of vibrato. The thing about a pedal vibrato is it's very controlled. This is all over the place, and it's a lot more from touch and what you feel, what the song is doing. It's a lot more fast-paced than a pedal that you can control. Next we have chorus. Now chorus is an effect that is created by basically doing a second copy of your sound and detuning it just a little bit and playing it at the same time. It really thickens out your tone. It makes it sound like you're playing much more than one instrument at one time, but it also is a really, really cool effect. It sounds a little bit like this. Almost sounds like there are multiple instruments playing at the same time, but really it's just you. And sometimes adding a little bit of extra gain can give you like a really cool sound to solo over because it makes your guitar sound so much thicker. So that's just with a little bit of chorus. You can obviously dial in your chorus to get really crazy sounding, but having a little bit of chorus on your tone really thickens it out, and it can make for a really cool tone. So guys, that's a bit of a dive into the worlds of tremolo, vibrato, and chorus. The world of modulation is endless. You can get so many cool sounds. So I just say experiment. Get a couple pedals and start turning some knobs around and see what kind of cool sounds you can get. I'm Lindsay L. Thank you so much, Marty, for having me. Make sure to subscribe to Marty Music, like this video, and come say hello on my own channel. All the links are below, and we'll see you next time.